These very short words of the gospel kind of sum up what the apparition at Fatima was telling us, to the world and to the church on that day in the early 1900s. That we hear from those secrets, those that have been revealed at Fatima. One of them was that concern, perhaps, with the growing tide of communism in the world that was entering at that moment into Russia, and that concern with losing a good chunk of humanity, not just politically in the sense of a country or several nations, but humanity itself, mankind, from the faith. That was perhaps at the end what is the real concern of the warnings that we received through the apparitions at Fatima. That concern with mankind, a mankind that perhaps for the greater part of history, when we look at it before the 1900s, but already towards the mid-1800s, was slipping farther and farther away from that fear of God and that knowledge of God. If we look at it kind of through the history of the faith as well, throughout that long time, well, we can say for the most part, we operated, and again, beyond the political, beyond that sense, well, we all operated in the sense of a fear of God. Perhaps there were different notions of that God, different misunderstandings perhaps, but nevertheless, there was a recognition, an acknowledgement that God was God and God reigned over all. Yet it's with the advent of the secular state that really begins in those 1850s, 1860s, and kind of crests in the 1900s that, well, there is no more acknowledgement of God. And if there is, it's perhaps symbolic or empty, a shallow, an echo of what it once was. Laws are made without thinking of that divine law. Morality is created without its divine reference. And so we spin up a whole new definition of what it is to be human. Well, at its moment when it was being discussed, the UN Declaration of Human Rights was rather controversial at its moment. And the church itself had to express some opposition because it was trying to create a definition and thus the rights that accompanied the human state without making a reference to its creator. And even more, the rights that are attributed, well, if they were to be made up by men, they could also be changed by men. And that's what really differentiates those two times. Creating a world, creating an order that is entirely based on man without any reference whatsoever to the divine creator. Because man can change and often does, so too those systems and those beliefs even change at the whim of man. But before, when there was that acknowledgement of the divine source of all, a divine source that does not change, well then the precepts and the rights and the understanding of humanity did not change and could not change either. And so that preoccupation perhaps that the Virgin Mother had with the fall of Russia, the advent of communism, and everything that has happened since was a warning, but also an expression of worry, a heavenly expression of worry. In these days right now, in between the resurrection and the ascension as we head into Pentecost, that final admonition that Jesus gives us, that he leaves, however, he does not leave us alone, comes into more, it makes more sense, especially in light of this feast. We are not left alone because the Holy Spirit is sent to be with us as we also await our day, our resurrection. But at the same time, we're also sent someone to accompany us, which is the same mother that Jesus had, the same mother that raised Jesus, that accompanied Jesus in his life. She's also sent to accompany us. She's also sent, as the church, to be with us and guide us to her Son. And so on this feast of Fatima, we also remember that promise of not being left alone by the same Lord, and we also honor the one who accompanies us to her own Son, our mother, the mother of the Agrupación, Mary. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.